My name is Calu, and I'm also known as the Scribe Priestess. And in this channel, I make videos about spirituality, spiritual practices, spiritual journey, anything that has to do with our spiritual development here on earth. And in this episode, we are going to talk about one of my favorite spiritual practices of all time. I am going to remember you guys that we are going through this spiritual practices journey in the company of a very amazing book, which is Science and Spiritual Practices by Rupert Sheldrake. This following practice, he calls it as the connection to more than human nature. So I love it, and it's the connection with nature. So grab yourself a cup of your favorite drink. Mine is tea, I have one here, and let's start with this new episode. As always, I wanted to let you know, guys, that this video is going to have an extended version, and if you're curious enough about it, you can go and check it out on my webpage. I will leave the link down below. I'm gonna go there into more spiritual mysticism about why nature is so important to us and the connection we have to it. I am going to talk about how nature is actually a projection of higher realms. For example, you can go to the Devachan. I am going to explain a little bit what the Devachan is and how we can see nature as a reflection of these realms with higher frequencies, and a little bit also about our cosmic memory and our planetary journey. It's going to be an introduction to a lot of other things that we are going to be talking in this channel that have to do with our history, our evolutionary history regarding spiritual science. Okay, so I'm very excited about it. So if you're curious about what spiritual science is and how we start to get ourselves into this, check out my webpage, and you have to become a member to be part of the sacred community of the Scribe Priestess. Okay, you guys, so let's get started with this video. So I was absolutely wanting to do this because nature to me is the most precious thing we have in order for us to experience the connection we have to spiritual frequencies, to frequencies of love, light, of these beautiful energies that surround us, that reminds us that it doesn't matter that we're here on earth disconnected, because we're not disconnected, that's the thing, but that we think we're disconnected from the whole, from the universe, from God being here in the matter, but it's not true. Matter is actually remembering us. It's a path of remembrance of our holiness, of our lightfulness inside of us, about how God is the universe, is inside of us and surrounding us, all over what we have here on earth. I absolutely love how Sheldrake starts this connection to nature in telling us about the connection with the more than human world. And by the more than human world, he's referring to the type of connection that we have to all living things, more than just human beings. So that comes inside all the living plants, animals, minerals. He also talks about our cosmos, about the universe, about the stars, the planets, everything. And I mean, if you have the book, this is a chapter which is absolutely marvelous, absolutely beautiful. I'm not gonna follow what he did because I want to bring my cup of tea here. But if you really feel a contact to nature, he does a very thoughtful explanation of the evolution of the spiritual practice of connecting to Mother Nature. You can also see a lot of the different eras we have been going through, going into this connection and disconnection, connection and disconnection, because we have history, you guys. We have history. So, there is this saying of go and check out your history so you don't repeat the same things. I believe knowing about our roots, about where we come from. Actually, our history is not only humans, but actually as beings, as soul beings, is very important. So let's talk about what connection to the more than human world is. So, connection to nature. During my studies of social pedagogy and also my studies of psychotherapy, a lot of the things that we tend to dwell as humans are our emotions and unprocessed things that we are living inside of us, okay? And a lot of that is generated in this bubble of energy, which is very mental. It's our thoughts, it's how we process things, it's everything that's happening in this abstract realm, which is the thoughts, the everything that the mind is doing. Bringing that to the conscious world is a process, because a lot of these things are kept in the unconscious realm, and when you put it or translate it into the conscious world, it is a process of transformation and of somehow trying to deal with your emotions, trying to also a form of manifestation. Why am I talking about this? It's because in those two fields of human studies that I have done in my life, a lot of the times they say that going outside into nature is going to help us channel all these emotions, all those feelings, and it's going to bring us into contact with ourselves. It is amazing how in these human studies, it's also this contact with nature is being put as a form of prevention of spiritual, not a spiritual practice, because it's not seen as a spiritual practice, but it's seen more as a practice for your well-being, for your mental health. The fact that you're able to go outside, just bring a little bit of air to your system, and everything is very, the first word that I had in my mouth was mechanic. So we know that going outside, making movement, is going to release endorphins, release certain chemicals inside of us that are going to promote our feelings of well-being. So although these human studies are very much focused in that biological sense of why being outside in nature is good for us, I really believe that that's a remembrance of the mystical schools we used to have when everything was incorporated. So we were not separated from our spiritual practices and what it meant to be a human being, or what it meant to be a being during this spiritual development and all this science around us. This has to do with something very important, and it's that in the era of materialism, and when everything started to go to this very deep materialistic mind, the science and everything that had to do with spirituality split itself, and religions also started to demonize everything that was pagan. So everything that had to do with paganism, which were the religions that tended to not only go to a lot of gods and goddesses, but also in contact with the elemental world outside in nature, were seen as bad or were forbidden. So we come now from an era where a lot of things that were connected to Mother Nature and more than human world connection was part of our daily lives. My feeling is that we are living now in a resurrection time where people are trying to get more in touch with Mother Nature, get more in touch with the environment, creating more consciousness and awareness, because this materialism is being too much. I do feel that we are living in an era where we're going to be seeing a resurrection of this organic way of living, where we are going to become more conscious about our connection to plants, to animals to minerals to the cosmos to Mother Earth to everything that is created in the universe. And this is part of, the cycles that we are living, and there are normal, the law of rhythm in the laws of the universe, which we go in cycles. I find myself to be very happy and grateful that I get to live this transformation in my own way, in my own path and journey. But for example, that I can consciously say that I am on the path of connection with nature, that I am on the organic path of life instead of being in this techno materialistic machine path in life. So the fact that I get to choose that, and that we are still being called here on earth to be renewing and reviving this need to say, hey, nature is important. Hey, the connection with nature, the connection with your soul, the connection with spirit, with spirituality is important. And to be also following that path of awareness, I just feel it's a blessing. It's a blessing. There is a lot of wisdom outside of nature, because when we think that we are separated from everything else that is surrounding us, it's a very egotistic way of looking life, and it is also a very materialistic type of thinking, because in the materialistic type of thinking, nothing but humans have consciousness. There are even materialistic waves who don't even understand consciousness, because they just see it as chemicals happening inside of our brains, or as brain waves or chemistries happening inside of us. But that is another thing. I'm not gonna go inside of it. In my opinion, that is absolutely egotistic and absolutely ego oriented. The path of life here on earth is being able to come again into this interconnectedness with the all, with the universe, with God, the holy energy, call it whatever you want. God is part of this journey, is being able to be conscious enough to remember this interconnectedness with everything surrounding us while being in the material world. The material world is something that happened that is very dense, okay? Material things that we can touch, that we can grab, that we can experience with our five senses is the heaviest form of energy. So, you live in a house, you get clothes, your body, everything is very heavy materialized. And all of our other energies, our subtle energies, like our soul, our consciousness, our higher selves, those are in higher vibrational frequencies, where this dense material, compressed material, are not going to be happening. You can see it as a lot of atoms being really compressed and being like this. And on the other ones with higher frequencies, they're just like woo, and going like that. How I see connecting with nature is that we get to experience the holiness and the spiritual energy of higher frequencies through the contact with this heavier density, which is Mother Earth. But it's like the luminous way of this higher, of this denser type of material. The fact that we are able to interact with Mother Nature with this is the way we can reconnect ourselves to what it means to be in light, what it means to be in love, what it means to be vibrating in so lovable energies. And there are a lot of spiritual practices, and in a lot of mystery schools, part of the journey is connecting again with nature. And the more and more you connect to nature, the more and more you're going to advance in your spiritual journey, because you're getting this awareness of not only who you are, but actually where you come from and what you are and how is everything made. There is a reason why also a lot of tribes, a lot of very ancient spiritual practices surrounded themselves with nature. There are a lot of cultures that have cults to either the moon or the sun, or even deities that have to do with the natural world. There are different, I'm not going to talk about the moon mysteries, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the sun, because that's also one thing that is spoken in the book. And there are different civilizations that had the cult to the sun, or the worship to the sun, because the sun is also seen as the light of God, the energy of God coming towards us here on earth. The sun energy is a very holy energy, sacred in a lot of different religions and a lot of different civilizations, from the very old ones from paganism times to the more recent ones that have to do with Christianity and Orthodox and Indian also religions, where the sun will be worshipped. I believe something very important here, and it's that the sun is portrayed as the father, and mother is portrayed as Mother Earth. So Father Sun and Mother Earth are also going to be this reference in spirituality, where we're going to be also talking about this knowledge of the divine matrimony between energies. So the Father Sun and the Mother Earth. There you can absolutely see that they need one another, that they need to intertwine. There is no earth without the sun, and there is no sun without the earth, because we are all interconnected with each other. I resonate a lot with the energy of the sun and the civilizations that were worshiping the sun. For example, the Maya civilization or the Egyptians, they were totally solar. And one thing that is also very interesting to be talking about in the connection with nature is the elements. The 4 elements. You can see in nature the fire element, you can see water, you can see earth, and you can see air. And inside of us, we have also those elements. And there are a lot of different practices around the world, or spiritual teachings, who teach you the balance about these elements, or to understand the qualities of these elements to be able to understand yourself. And part of this discovery is happening also outside in nature. One important thing to mention is that the more disconnected you become from nature, the more disconnected you become from yourself too. There is a cleansing process happening in this connection with nature that we all know about that is called grounding. Mother Nature has the power to ground ourselves, to go into the roots of not only us but the earth, that is also in connection with the sun, our cosmos. Oh my God, one other thing I just remember right now that Sheldrake says is that the sun has an electromagnetic field which works stronger than whatever electromagnetic field that we have here on earth, but that we are also functioning through electricity in our electromagnetic field between our bodies and our minds. So he is talking about I just find it so interesting because it's a very scientific approach about a very well-known subject in spirituality, where you don't even question it, because you know that the sun is conscious, is the consciousness of God. He puts it in such a good way, written in a scientific perspective, to see if the sun is conscious. And he says that until now the question is still open, because you cannot say yes or no. But the fact that the sun has this electromagnetic field would be probably this connection like we can see with our body and mind. The sun can also have this connection with his body and mind. Read the chapter, you guys. It's absolutely beautiful. I love this one. But anyway, the contact with nature has been thought since centuries ago, and a lot of other spiritual teachings are saying the importance of this connection for awakening your abilities, awakening your path in the spiritual development journey. So all of this is very important. Like contact with nature, I believe, is with meditation the first two things that you should be cultivating in daily lives. And this contact with nature, if you're not even spiritual, there are a lot of other ways that you can see the importance of it. I have just talked about the humanities, in psychological studies, in biological studies, pedagogical studies. All of those studies are saying that nature gives you benefits, that this contact of being outside, enjoying the sun, has a lot of things which are beneficial for your mental health. But you can also see it, for example, in the arts. There were a lot of artists who were very inspired by nature, that they were feeling this amazing awe moment, that to be an awe, that's an emotion that, please, if anyone can describe what awe means to them, please leave me in the comments what awe means to you, because that is such a strong emotion to be experiencing. And my moments of awe have been in nature, like 100%. Anytime I can see something so beautiful that my breath is taken away, that I'm like, oh my God, thank you that I'm here alive. That also gets this feeling of being grateful. So what we just spoke in the gratitude video comes with this feeling of awe, and nature is reminding us of that. Why are there so many people in these days going again to get into contact with nature? I see a lot of people in social media posting that they're going off-grid, that they're going to, live in a mountain by themselves. A lot of more people that are trusting themselves to experience nature in another way. I'm not saying that that's the case for everyone, because there are still very materialistic movements where you just see nature as something where you can get things out from, like just exploit it to get food, or to get the soil to be growing things, and then be selling stuff and get money, whatever. Or just destinations to go to, and you don't even get into contact with it. Another explanation of this is when you go outside and do sports. And I have talked about this because doing sports is very important. Sports are exercise in general. But it's a very different experience if you go to nature to walk and be conscious and be aware, be awakened, having an experience in nature, than to go there and just have a goal in your mind and going, not even noticing what is there. How many times I have been walking and there are people just concentrating themselves in how many steps they're making, if they're going fast enough, if they have gone I don't know how many kilometers. They don't even take time to see the surroundings, to connect with nature. It's amazing. It's amazing. It amazes me to see how this materialistic society we are living in gets hold of the importance of values actually that we should be having as human beings, which is, for example, the contact with Mother Nature. And those are the things that we shouldn't take for granted. Mother Nature, we shouldn't take her for granted. A beautiful also thing that I believe Mother Nature teaches us is the concept of duality, which is another it's another law of the universe, that we live in a dual world. because Mother Nature is this lovable womb of creation, of creativity, where a lot of life is being creative, given birth to. And you can see the lovable energy of creation being there in Mother Nature. But at the same time, Mother Nature can be very destructive. And there is this cycle of rebirth and living this life. I am trying to use words that are not going to get pinpoint by YouTube, but this normal circle of life, and passing by. So the stronger your connection to Mother Nature is, the stronger you're going to see that we live in a dual world, that we cannot just be thinking in this, oh yes, everything is love and everything is light and everything is happiness and there are no bad things in the world. No, it doesn't work that way. There are things that are here which are good, and there are things that are here which are bad, or that we translate them as bad because the emotions that these things are creating in us are leading us to a darker side of reality, okay? I'm not gonna get into too much into that, but yes, Mother Nature tells us a lot about our inner world as well as our outside world. Contact with nature has been since ages part of spiritual practices. And although we go through waves where the contact with nature would be seen as either contact with God or not, the important part is that it's always there. And the more you get into contact with nature, the more you're going to start understanding the secrets of how life works. And yes, I wanted to say there are not only artists who were very inspired by nature, take Van Gogh or take Monet, but there were also a lot of scientists that said that a lot of the secrets of life are in nature, to go outside and see how nature is actually working. And it's not to see nature as a mechanism, as a machine, but as a living conscious thing, because that's what it is. Nature is consciousness itself, just as like us. So we are consciousness, and nature is consciousness also, spirit. So the more you get into that, the more you will be able to see these higher realms into action there. And believe me, you will also start to connect to your own capabilities and to become more intuitive. If you use this as a spiritual practice, you're going to get more into contact with your intuition, because outside in nature, you will have to use your intuition. You're going to be presented with situations where you're going to be asked to react very intuitively. And that I find amazing. And as every study, you will have the ability to understand a deeper side of our nature as human beings, but also what it means to be a conscious being here alive. I have the feeling that I need to do another section about this, but it's because I know that I'm going to be talking about these subjects when we see our planetary evolution or our cosmic memory. And the last thing that I want to say is that in astrology we also get to see the elemental planes, and we also get to see the cosmological influences in ourselves. So there's a reason why, you guys, there is a reason why we are all interconnected, and nature has a very big role to play in all of this. Very good. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I am going to be talking about the contact with the more than human nature a lot when we go through these other subjects, but I believe this is a great video to have as a base. Thank you so much for having watched this, for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video, that you found something interesting on it. If you already have the spiritual practice of connecting to nature, know that you are doing such an amazing thing, every time you go outside and connect with nature, not only for yourself, but for your spiritual development and for also being a role model to any other human being that you encounter and who sees you being outside in nature. Okay? It's an amazing practice to incorporate in your daily routine. So, wherever you are, I am sending you a lot of light and a lot of love, and we will see each other on our next video. Bye.